My name is Hannah, and this is my no-buy year. Hi guys! I know it doesn't seem like this to you, but I haven't filmed in 2 weeks, so I feel like I'm seeing you again for the first time in a while. I pre-filmed, so I was still posting videos, but I was secluded in the middle of nowhere, not filming, not really on YouTube, not wearing makeup. I kind of forgot how to put on makeup. I sat down in front of my vanity today to prepare for filming this video and I was like, I still feel like a little grub in the middle of nowhere whose only job is to write poems. Hopefully I look like a beauty guru. Today's video is another do I want it? I'm going to talk briefly about a couple of things that are new in beauty and about whether or not I want those things. I'm doing a no-buy year, so I'm not going to be buying any of these things. It's just an exercise in thinking about desire and thinking about hype and thinking about style, kind of an exercise in reflecting on the no-buy year. Spoiler alert, I don't want anything. That's not exactly true. There's something that I want. There might be more than one thing that I want. I don't know if it's the effect of having been in a retreat setting for 2 weeks and having kind of unplugged for a while, or if it's the result of the cumulative effects of my no-buy year because I'm now partway through my 3rd month. I don't know which thing is the more dominant factor in this, but I'm starting to feel very, very far away from the old self, the old covetous self, the part of me that was constantly wanting things and constantly feeling like I didn't have enough. It's been profound the entire time. I mean, from day one, I felt a change in my relationship to my own desire for things. I felt a change in my behaviors from the very beginning. But now that I've really, really settled deeply into the no-buy year, my birthday is over, I'm really in it for the long haul. There's no possibility of acquiring anything new for months and months yet. A new phase of relationship to my no-buy year is upon me. I really feel most days like I don't want anything. Not just that I don't need anything, but the desire is really dampened. I will talk about these things. I will talk about whether or not I want them. I still have the ability to project whether I would or wouldn't want to buy them if I weren't doing a no-buy. But it's kind of hard to say that I want anything because I'm so happy to be doing this no-buy year. My excitement about it and the joy that I'm taking in the benefits of the no-buy year far, far outweigh any theoretical or actual desire for new beauty products. Let's go ahead and get started with the contents of the video. The first product I'm going to talk about is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam Palette. Now, it's pretty simple. If I didn't have Modern Renaissance, I would want this. But because I have Modern Renaissance, I genuinely don't want this. When I pull up the picture, I basically see a slightly peachier and warmer Modern Renaissance with a black in it. And the reason I say warmer, which might not be most people's first instinct to say, because Modern Renaissance has these reds. It has more red. So Soft Glam has one cranberry shade, and Modern Renaissance has Real Gar, Love Letter, Venetian Red, Red Ochre. It's got these like deeper reds. So Modern Renaissance lends itself to a more intense pinky red look, but pinky red is the operative word. A pinky red look can kind of lean cool or lean warm. It's sort of in between. Whereas if you look at Soft Glam, it's got all of these really, really peachy neutrals. So everything on the left side of the palette, all of those mattes, all of the neutrals really pull peach. Even though they're softer, they're paler, they're more pastel than those in Modern Renaissance, they really pull peach, and I think it's pretty much impossible, looking at Soft Glam, I think it would be pretty much impossible to make a look with it that's not warm. Whereas I feel like I can go into Modern Renaissance and make a mauve? Where did that come from? Mauve? Get it together, Hannah Louise Poston. You can reach into Modern Renaissance and make a cool toned look. You just can. Buon Fresco is like a lavender that's on the cool side. Even Venetian Red and Love Letter, though they're pink, so they can run cool if you treat them the right way. Antique Bronze and Cypress Umber are these, you know, rich browns that aren't warm. So there are a lot of shadows in here that are really neutral, that can kind of go either way. You can make a warm toned look with this, you can make a cool toned look with this, and you can make a neutral look, a look that doesn't really pull strongly in either direction. Soft Glam to me looks a little bit more like a one-trick pony. It just looks like it's gonna be a peachy base no matter what you do. So there is kind of a mauve shadow in Soft Glam. It's called Dusty Rose, but it's warmer, it's rosier than Buon Fresco, which is more of like a lavender. I feel like Soft Glam kind of seals your fate. It kind of seals its own fate as a light, peachy, warm, rosy glam type of look. It also bothers me a little bit that there are two repeat shades, Cypress Umber and Tempera. Couldn't they have just formulated slightly different colors with different names that serve the same purpose in a palette but that are new? So if people already have Modern Renaissance and they want to buy Soft Glam, they don't feel like they're purchasing repeats. I really hate that feeling of being forced to purchase repeats in order to get something new that a brand has come out with. I think that's kind of trashy. Or lazy? Maybe trashy is not what I mean. Maybe I mean lazy. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Soft Glam. I like the palette. When I look at it, when I look closely at pictures of the palette and I imagine myself using it and I imagine the looks that I would make with it, I think to myself, this would be a very useful eyeshadow palette for me. I would reach for it, I would enjoy the looks. I think it's cohesive. I think it's a good, solid eyeshadow palette. But if I were choosing between it and Modern Renaissance, if I had to pick one, gosh, the only thing that compels me more about Soft Glam is the fact that it has a black in it, and to me that makes it a little bit more elegant and complete. But even though there's not a black in Modern Renaissance, I think it might be the more versatile and useful palette for me, ultimately. I wish ABH had made an effort to produce a new eyeshadow palette that was more different from Modern Renaissance, their star palette. It's almost like they're trying to do Modern Renaissance again, sell us the same product, but make it just different enough that people feel like they have to have that other one also. But they're trying to appeal to the exact same demographic, the exact same taste. They've made like a slightly different version of Modern Renaissance, and I'm just not into that. I both object to that on principle and do not want Soft Glam just because I already have this one. Both of those things are going on. I keep having to change out my battery. I hope it's not messing everything up. Okay, the second product I want to talk about is another eyeshadow palette. It's the Natasha Denona Tropic palette. Now, for a while, I wasn't sure if I wanted this or not. I think it looks pretty beautiful, and the packaging is very appealing to me, that kind of retro styling. It looks very high quality, it looks very luxury. When I started to look at close-ups of the shadows, I got really interested. That sparkly blue one in the bottom left-hand corner, Mint Frost, the pale lavender matte, which is something I realized that I don't have. There was a look I saw that I wanted to recreate and I couldn't because I don't have a shadow like that. So yeah, I examined this palette closely and I watched some reviews and I had to do some thinking about whether or not I want it. As I've said before, when I'm thinking about a new product, I'm frequently looking for a reason not to want it or not to buy it. I find this to be a super effective way to find out if I'm really going to use and love a product. If you search and search for a reason not to want it, frequently you can turn up a reason that you don't want it, and frequently that reason is something that would have very strongly affected your relationship with that product had you ended up buying and using it. And I think that that's really true in this case. In looking for a reason not to want this palette, here's what I came up with. It's one of these palettes that I come across from time to time that has a full complement of warm-toned, matte transition shades and base shades, and then a bunch of cool-toned pops of color. So if you look at the matte transition shades for this palette, there's Peach Puff, Nudist, Vintage Taupe, Fake Tan, Pastel Melon, and Sahara. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 shadows. So that's like more than a third. Is that right? Yeah, more than a third of the shadows in this are just matte, peachy, warm, matte transitions of various depths, various tones. So when you reach for this palette and you start to lay down your look, you really only have one option for the undertone of your look. It's gonna be warm. Those are really, they're all orange or like a peachy pink. Like they just are. That's just the premise of any eye look that you do completely with this palette. So you have that as the first layer. And obviously you could change how deep it is, you could change, and I think that there are a lot of options depending on your skin tone, which is nice. So there's a way for someone who has deeper skin to lay down a base, and there's a way for someone who has lighter skin to lay down a base. But either way, it's gonna be warm, it's gonna be peachy. If you have this palette, which is very colorful, you're reaching for it because you want to create a colorful eye look, something artistic, something a little bit more dramatic. And the options are icy blue, Kelly green, sort of sky blue, cerulean blue, midnight blue, pastel purple, golden yellow, like a really, really yellow, bright gold. And then there's one pinky one, like a rosy glitter. Then there's a matte that's red too. So you've got the pinky glitter and the matte red, and you could use those to complete your warm toned look, right? But if you're doing that look with this palette, and it also has a brown, that's its darkest shade, you might as well just use your Modern Renaissance palette, because that's basically what Modern Renaissance has to offer. Or you could use your Soft Glam, right? That's basically what it is. It's like ABH Soft Glam with and I think I'm not the first person to say this, it looks like ABH Soft Glam or ABH Modern Renaissance with a row of cool toned pops of color. You're either doing that really neutral, reddish, warmish look that everybody already has the ability to create in their collection, or you're adding in one of these beautiful, beautiful, colorful shadows on top of your warm-toned base. So what I'm going to say next is something that one could argue is a matter of taste. I would argue that it's a matter of the relationships between colors, which isn't really subjective. It's actually just the way that color works. It's a matter of color theory. I find that warm-toned eyeshadow looks with a cool-toned pop of color are tough. They're tough to pull off. It's a lot. Like a warm base with a green pop, for example, is very, very contrasty. You've got orange and green right up next to each other. That's like an orange growing on a green tree. There's no way to make those two colors blend into each other. They're just not close enough to each other on the color wheel, on the color spectrum, to make a gradient. It's even more true of orange and blue. An orange base with a blue pop. Blue and orange are literally opposite each other on the color wheel. To get from orange to blue, you have to pass through like 3 or 4 other colors in order for them to at all blend into each other. Even orange or peach with purple, they're a little bit closer. It's a little bit more conducive to a blended look. It's that kind of sunset look, right? You're starting with warm and you're moving through warm, peachy, purpley pinks to purple. That's a little bit easier, in my opinion, to pull off as a cohesive look. But that warm to lavender, that peachy orange to lavender look is still difficult. It still takes skill. It's still very bold. and it's still in some ways contrasty, even if you can get it to blend together. So every time I've seen someone doing a review of this, this is what I see them do. They put down their warm base using these beautiful warm colors, and then they go in either with the icy blue or with the Kelly green, and they create kind of a cut crease, even if they don't actually cut their crease. By default, it has to be a harsh line between the cool pop of color and the warm shades. There has to be a harsh line. And if you start to try to blend those shades into each other, which I've seen a lot of people try to do, it becomes muddy. And it doesn't become muddy because of the quality of the shadows. And I'm so tired of people saying this. They're like, oh, the shadows get muddy, they blend into each other, they get muddy. In my opinion, muddiness comes from trying to blend two colors into each other that when you blend them, they make brown or they make gray. Like if you blend orange into green, the color that results is going to be the color of mud. You will just get a muddy look if you try to do that. And this palette is like a recipe for that. It's a recipe for disaster. People who go into it without any preconceived notion of the look they're going to create, without planning, and especially without some kind of studied sense of the relationship between colors, they go in expecting it to work out the way that it works out when you use Modern Renaissance, or it kind of works out naturally when you use most palettes, because most palettes are designed to help people put colors together. So people are going into this palette willy-nilly, expecting it to work out, and they're gonna end up with muddy look after muddy look after muddy look, just because the only base shades that are available are very, very warm, and all of the statement shades are cool toned. Natasha, I think the palette is beautiful. It's beautiful to look at, and I covet it. It does ring my bell. It's really pretty. But I can't help but feel that if I owned this palette, I would open it up and I would say, ooh, I really want to do a look with this midnight blue, for example. And then I would start conceiving of that look in reverse to decide how to start making it. I would get down to the first shadow that I want to reach for, and it wouldn't be in the palette. Nor would the second, nor would the third. I would be pulling out my Marc Jacobs palette and my NARS palette and my Morphe palette to try to find the colors that I need to create the proper base to show off that midnight blue, or to use that midnight blue. I've had this experience. This is the experience that I have. As much as I like it with the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette, I think I like the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette more than this one in terms of what it offers. And actually another reason not to want or not to buy the Natasha Denona Tropic eyeshadow palette could be if you already own the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. Obviously the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette doesn't have, for example, like an icy glittery blue, sky blue, but the general offerings and the general relationships between the colors is very similar. Jaclyn Hill's palette also has a huge variety of matte transition shades, all of which are warm toned, and then a number of supplementary shades that are cool toned. And I see people in reviews and in demonstrations running into the problem that I've outlined in this video. In fact, when that palette first came out, do you remember how almost everybody's instinct in demonstrating it was to use those blues and that like royal blue and royal purple that she has in that palette, but they were always laying those colors down over top of a really, really peachy base. Those looks, I don't like that look, and I'm not trying to say that it's a bad choice for everyone. You can't argue with taste. If that's to your taste, and then rock it, but it's not to my taste. I'm not really that into that look. And when I saw all of those demos of the Jaclyn Hill palette, I was like, oh, that's definitely not the look that I'm gonna be constructing when I get my hands on this palette. But by looking at the shadows, I could sort of conceive of other looks that I would really want to create with it, and that was why I ended up buying it. But with the Natasha Denona palette, it's harder to conceive of other looks that I would end up creating with it, because there are fewer options. It has fewer shadows, and yeah, the options are really limited, honestly, and they're limited down to that kind of warm and cool, contrasty look. That's just not my jam. I don't want this palette. Even if it weren't my no-buy year, I wouldn't be buying it. And I'm really glad that I had the chance to think it through and realize what it was about it that would have caused it to be kind of an unreached for piece languishing in the back of my collection if I ended up owning it. All right, the third product I am going to talk about is the Kat Von D I Am Divine palette. My friends, there is almost nothing in this world that I love more than drag queens. The art form of drag to me is the most nourishing, the most delightful, the most necessary antidote to the pains of contemporary life, pretty much, that I have come across. I just cherish that community and that form of expression so deeply, and I owe so much of my happiness and survival over the past couple of years to drag queens and their particular brand of joyful and incisive humor. So I think this palette is incredible. I think it's just delightful that Kat Von D decided to make a palette honoring Divine, who's one of the most famous drag queens of all time. And it's really exciting to see it. It's really exciting to see the packaging where you can hold the Divine eyes up over your eyes. The colors are really cool, and I'm just very pleased that it exists. However, these aren't my colors. And for that reason, even if I weren't on a no-buy year, I wouldn't touch this palette with a 10-foot pole. I have no desire for a sky blue, a sparkly midnight blue, a Kelly green, a steely metallic silver. I just don't need those colors. That's not my jam. Those aren't the kinds of looks that I'm interested in creating. And when I do want cool tone pops of color, I already have a couple in my collection. I have them and I almost never reach for them. When I look at the colors of this palette, when I look at it objectively, it's just not for me. And here's the reason that I put this palette in this video. I don't buy themed makeup just on the premise of being a fangirl for the thing that it's based off of. So if I was really into Mean Girls, for example, I still wouldn't have bought the Mean Girls palette unless I loved the palette. If I was a huge fan of My Little Pony, I would not have bought the My Little Pony palette just because it's My Little Pony. And I don't understand, I don't know if I should say that I don't understand people's desire to own collectible makeup. I've tried to understand it. I think about it and I try to understand it because obviously it's a huge thing. People are always rushing out and being like, I have to have the Snow White palette because I just love Disney so much. That kind of thing. I think that's a bad reason to buy makeup. And it's not like I don't have paraphernalia of the things that I'm in love with. In fact, I'm looking in front of me, I'm looking at like 2 pieces of drag art. And I have another, actually, let me show it to you. I think it's over. This is basically my pride and joy. Alright, I closed the window so the buzzsaw wouldn't be so loud. You can probably still hear it, but I can't just sit here waiting. This is Pearl from one of the seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race wearing an amazing snake costume. That print is by the artist Chad Sell. I will link him below. And that's not the only piece of his art I own. I own a number of depictions of drag queens by Chad Sell. They're framed and they're all around my house. So it's not that I don't collect or love things that exemplify, that illustrate my fandom. It's not that I don't collect things, not that I don't understand that impulse. It's just that an eyeshadow palette is a tool for enhancing your presence and changing the way you look in the world, right? It's like you you wear the shadows themselves on your face. And to me, I care about quality. I really care about quality and usefulness. I want the things that I own to be pleasurable to use, but also to be as effective as possible for the use for which they were intended. I just can't help but feel that when things like this come out that are themed, a lot of energy goes into the marketing of the palette as the My Little Pony palette or the Mean Girls palette, and that even if the shadows themselves are of really good quality, the marketing kind of overshadows or outweighs the palette itself, and that it kind of blinds people to whether or not it's a palette that they really love, whether or not it's a formula that they really love. I understand that some people just want to own the Mean Girls palette just so they can say they own it, like it's a collector's item, and it's a collector's instinct, the desire to own that thing. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't have that instinct. I've done away with it. I just want the eyeshadow palettes that are going to make my eye looks the best that they can be. My eye looks. That's what I want to buy. Good eye looks. Something that I enjoy working with. I don't need the picture. If I wanted an image of Divine, which I kind of do, if I wanted something that represents my appreciation of Divine and everything that she did for drag and everything that she did for humanity, I would buy some art and I would frame it and put it on my wall. Or I would buy a book, or I would buy something that is intended to exemplify my love and my appreciation of her. Not something that's intended for use as makeup. I don't know. I'm saying all this and I can kind of hear the counter arguments in the back of my head, like drag is an art form that makes use of makeup, so it makes sense to have an eyeshadow palette that is in honor of a drag queen, and you can celebrate Divine by using her colors on your face and using her look. I can understand that argument. I think the reason that that's not compelling for me in this case is that I'm not interested in the colors in the palette. If an eyeshadow palette celebrating a drag queen was released and I really, really loved the colors, if it were checking both boxes, like if the shadow palette itself was something coveted, and then in addition to that, it was also fan paraphernalia for something of which I am truly a fan, then yeah, I might want it more because of the picture on the box. Maybe. Overall, I have a hard time understanding the drive to purchase a thing simply because it's in collaboration with your favorite movie or your favorite character, or because it triggers nostalgia, like the Polly Pocket nostalgia, the Nickelodeon palette, like those nostalgia palettes. I have no use for that. I'm just like, I'm sorry. No, I don't want to indulge in my nostalgia for my childhood television watching habits and try to put together a cohesive eye look and have those two things be one activity. I don't understand that compulsion, and therefore, even though I am a passionate fangirl when it comes to drag and drag queens and drag history, I don't want the Kat Von D I Am Divine eyeshadow palette. I genuinely do not want it. So I've talked about 3 eyeshadow palettes, and I'm only going to talk about one more thing. I'm trying to get through this video because my battery keeps dying and I keep having to switch it out for another battery that's also dying, and then charge the first battery and then switch the other one out, and then the other one dies, and then I put the other one in and then it dies. It's been trying. It's been a rocky re-entry into the world of filming YouTube videos for little me. I want to talk about one skincare product, and this is new from Drunk Elephant. It's the C-Tango Multivitamin Eye Cream, and girl, I want it. Do I ever want it? I want it. I really believe in vitamin C, and I really believe in the ability of Drunk Elephant as a skincare brand to deliver vitamin C. It's a really unstable ingredient. I'm not going to go on at length about it, but maybe I'll try to link one of Stephanie Nicole's videos talking about vitamin C, or I'll link an article or something so that you can read up or watch and get a little background on how unstable vitamin C is and how hard it is to keep it in an effective form. Drunk Elephant already has a vitamin C product. It's a serum, the C Firma Day Serum, and I think I'm currently on probably just my second bottle of it. I had it a while ago and then I stopped using it, and right before the beginning of my no-buy year I bought a new bottle because I really wanted it to be the way that I incorporate vitamin C into my routine during this year and hopefully beyond. Even though I take really good care of my skin and I had a bunch of different products going, I also had another product with vitamin C in it, so it wasn't as though I had stopped using vitamin C altogether. When I reincorporated C Firma Day Serum, I noticed an improvement in my skin. My skin is really doing well on this product. And as I've run out of some of my other products and I've had to take breaks from using Good Genes, for example, or breaks from using other things that I really love and depend on, I feel like my still very full bottle of C Firma is one of the things that's kind of getting me through and keeping my skin in good shape. It's brightening, it helps blemishes heal faster, it helps with hyperpigmentation, and it's a really, really potent anti-aging ingredient. Because I've seen such good results with that product, I know that the packaging that Drunk Elephant uses for vitamin C keeps the vitamin C potent, keeps it in its active form. It doesn't oxidize because it doesn't ever get exposed to air. It's in this kind of like double layered container that's totally light safe, and it has a pump, so you never open the container and you never expose the product or anything. So this eye cream is packaged the same way. It's in the pump, and it's whatever genius method they've used to deliver vitamin C in the C Firma Day Serum, they've presumably also used to create this eye product. I'm looking at the listing. It says, a rich and restorative eye cream featuring a brightening combination of 8 peptides, 5 forms of vitamin C, 5 forms, and cucumber extract for firmer, stronger looking skin around the eye area. Now, I've tried a number of eye creams. I always have one in rotation. I'm always using something around my eyes. I've used serums, I've used creams, I've used little samples. I've gone through actually a ton of little sample sizes of eye creams, but I've never really found one that I'm devoted to. I've never found the eye cream. And because of my experience with C Firma, I can't help but think that if ever there was going to be one that had a shot at finding its way into my heart, this is it. I want to try this, and I'm going to get a sample. I know I keep saying that. I said I was going to go to Sephora and get a sample of the Marc Jacobs foundation, blah, blah, blah. I have to say, I haven't set foot in a Sephora store since 2017. I don't go shopping anymore, partly because I'm busy with other things, and also because there's not really a reason to, because I'm not buying anything. But I think that the next time I need to replace something that I run out of, instead of ordering it, I will go physically to a Sephora store and pick it up. And while I'm there, I'm gonna get myself a sample of this eye cream and see if I see a difference. Because that's the thing, I feel like the eye creams that I use, they do help keep the skin around my eyes plump and nourished. They help my eyes not to dry out, and of course that helps to keep those fine lines from getting any deeper, and it helps to keep new crow's feet from developing and all of that stuff. So I do feel like I'm taking basic preventative measures, but I've never used an eye cream where I see the skin around my eyes looking great, like looking really, really bright. If there's anything that could give that effect, I believe in vitamin C. Like, I think vitamin C could do that. I think vitamin C around the eyes is an amazing idea, and I'm especially excited that this is the company that has decided to deliver it. This is something that I want, and luckily for me, I only have a little bit of eye cream left. I have like a little sample here and there that I need to go through, but a time will come where I'll be allowed to buy one. So I'm looking forward to trying out a sample of this and discovering whether or not this is the one that I want to buy. I'm not going to buy it without trying it, but I'm going to try it and see if I want to buy it.
That's it, I did it, I'm back, I'm filming, my life is happening again.
there's anything else you want me to talk about in a future Do I Want It video. If this is your first time to my channel, I hope you'll subscribe and follow me through the rest of my no buy year. Let's see your thumbs up, let's see your comments, and I hope you will take extra good care of yourself this week so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.